Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 25th, 2017 Wright County Board meeting. We'll begin this morning with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the minutes from last week, April 18th. Has everyone had a chance to look them over?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Delight, second by Commissioner Vitch. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda for today. Nothing to add. We're doing pretty good there, right, Lee?
Doing great.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsome, second by Commissioner Potter. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Consent agenda for today.
I'll make a motion to approve today's consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Vetch, second by Commissioner Delighten. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The timed agenda. I think we're probably okay here, yeah. 9:03, Adam, you're up. Adam Tagaro, our Information Technology Director.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. This morning I have a couple of items. The first one is to introduce you to our new business analyst. This is Sam Sansness. He brings a lot of project management and VA experience with him and has formerly worked at Boston Scientific. So we are glad to have him here.
Yeah. Great.
Commissioners,
Morning.
thanks for having me here. I just want to thank the board for the opportunity, and I also moved to Wright County a year and a half ago, and I really enjoy the area, and the people in this area. Is just everything in general is very good. I've been very happy with my employment at the county these past 2 months. So
Great.
thank you.
And where are you living in Wright County? I probably beat you to it, huh?
No.
I live just north of Buffalo Lake.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's off of Bluffs Parkway,
Okay.
so just about 2 miles away.
That's
Yeah.
great. So you
Kind of in
don't,
my neighborhood.
you can walk to work almost, huh?
Almost, yeah. I think
You start out early enough, you can.
Yes.
Bicycle, maybe.
Commissioner Delighten,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I thought about the bicycle.
Or canoe. Canoe across the lake.
Yeah, there's a stream kind of in my backyard, so I think I could try that.
So now you've been here 2 months and Adam is finally getting around to introducing you? He wanted to make sure that you were going to work a little bit or
around
what?
first.
Or if you recall, I did have him on the agenda before, but circumstances unforeseen prevented him from coming in. So.
I was thinking that. I thought I'd seen that before, and there, but I was like, maybe I was just having a lapse in
Deja
memory.
vu.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Still valid.
Or
Welcome aboard.
welcome
Thank you.
aboard. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Commissioners, my second item was I'd like to schedule a closed session meeting to go over the findings with our information security assessment that was performed last year.
Oh, you don't want to do it in the public?
Preferably not. 'Cause it's-
What,
Here's how to hack us. We want to demonstrate, show what was found as far as the network security pieces and vulnerabilities, and what steps we've been taking to mitigate those, and what we want to do in the future. So I'm
Adam,
proposing May 23rd.
Did you have any recommended dates at all, or
May 23rd.
May 23rd?
And maybe Lee
Right
can help
after
me
the
with
board
this.
meeting, Lee?
Yeah, we could look at that after the board meeting. Doing 11 o'clock would be an option that day.
How long is this going to take, Mr. Chair? Adam?
I would say an hour and a half tops.
Okay. Because that also is the first responders lunch, but that's, if I missed that, I'll miss that.
okay.
Well, we could go at 10:30 too.
Well,
Could do that.
Why don't we plan at 10:30, and if it ends up being 11, it's 11, so let's
Okay.
go 10:30.
I am going to see if I can get our vendor to actually come in and partake in that discussion as well, the one that perform the assessment, to kind of give us some of their perspectives. So.
Okay. I
Mr.
think-
Chair, I'll make a motion to set a closed session to review security report for May 23rd, which is a Tuesday at 10:30.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsom to do that closed session. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous, so thank you
Thank
very
you,
much,
Commissioners.
Adam. Next up, 9:05, right on the money. Captain Pat O'Malley,
Morning, Mr. Chair, Board. I'm here today to request signatures on a proclamation for Corrections Officers Week. Corrections Officers Week would be May 1st through May 7th. We have 61 corrections officers in our jail here in our county when we're fully staffed. They work a 24/7 schedule. You don't see them very often because they do actually more time than most of our inmates do in the jail. But we deal with a lot of people who have a lot of different issues and problems, medical problems, mental health problems. They act as counselors and try to be role models and everything else. And they have a difficult job, one that unfortunately not a lot of people want to do, so it makes it difficult for us to hire, which is why we're always behind. But I would like to read the proclamation.
go ahead.
Whereas in 1984, President Ronald Reagan signed Proclamation 5187, creating National Corrections Officer Week. Whereas the Wright County Board recognizes that the duties of the corrections personnel has become increasingly complex and demanding. Whereas the Wright County Board recognizes that correctional personnel are called upon to fill simultaneously custodial, supervisory, and counseling roles with some of the most dangerous individuals in society. Whereas the Wright County Board recognizes the professionalism, dedication, and courage exhibited by our correctional personnel throughout the performance of these demanding and often conflicting roles deserve our utmost respect. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the Wright County Board of Commissioners, do hereby acknowledge the week of May 1st through 7th, 2017 as Corrections Officers Week and Employees Week in honor of the dedicated professionals who supervise the county's inmate population.
I'll make that motion to approve this resolution.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Delighten, second by Commissioner Houston. This is a resolution, and Derek, you want to start off?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do we do anything special for these guys?
We work with a couple of our vendors and we bring in some donuts and rolls and do a lunch thing here and for each of the shifts. And I usually buy some pizzas and some things like that. So,
Show them that they're appreciated.
yes,
Good deal.
Good.
they are appreciated.
And I
Yeah, absolutely.
talked about this a couple weeks back, but there was actually an email that we got from one of your former inmates and said how well it was treated out there, how great everybody was to him, staff, and he said, that all said, he still does not want to come back for another visit.
Well, that's a good
But-
thing then, right?
But he was very, said you guys were so professional and was just very impressed with everything. So it was good to see that, you know, I mean,
Yep.
and I think you see that when you're visiting out there too. So tell the guys they do a great job.
Thank you very
And
much.
keep it up too. Don't let
Well-
down your guard, so.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Captain O'Malley, yesterday at our Health and Human Source Board meeting, it was indicated that you get outside help for mental health issues like 3 hours a week? Was that the number I was hearing?
Yeah, we work with our medical provider, MEND, and our nurses see people also, but we do get, we set up, we have telemedicine. It's very difficult to find psychologists and psychiatrists they'll come into a correctional facility. I mean, they're busy, period. And for us to try to get appointments on the outside usually takes us about 2 to 3 months. So we do have through our provider, they do work with us, and we have a telemedicine set up in our jail that we do get at least 3 hours a week, depending on the need. They will give us more if we have more need, but we try to make sure that we're working with the people that need to be worked with, and there is a great need throughout the jails in the state of Minnesota. So, yeah.
Why I bring that up, Captain, is that at the AMC board meeting last Friday, mental health issues were the number one focus of the big problem that they saw in all 87 counties, where that was the number one ticket there. And when you go this, especially it needs help when the ones that are inmates in jail, to help them overcome their addictions or whatever their problem is. Like last Sunday, I had the article in the paper with the lady with the opioid up in Bemidji, and she got the help to get her off it. And so I'm just wondering if 3 hours a week is sufficient, or is that something that,
Well, I mean,
Looked at.
right now, it's working for us. Could we use more? Probably. We're looking at, right now, we're actively looking at a couple of different programs that we can start that would work with the mental health. Now, this is a really big topic with a lot of tentacles. It's not just a very, it's addressed typically in the press and the public as a pretty simple thing, mental health,
Yeah.
but it encompasses quite a wide range of peoples and behaviors and everything else. And there are, like I said, a lot of tentacles that get into this subject, along with misuse of whether it be prescription or self-medicating with illegal drugs or alcohol, that creates even more problems. So there is a lot. And could we use more? I think that we could. I think we have to focus on. We have to make sure that we're targeting the right group of inmates. Because we don't obviously have the resources to individually deal with every single person out there and their particular thing. But so we are working with probation right now with our provider MEND. And with Human Services, trying to come up with a release type programming that will target those offenders with mental health needs that we can and should be able to address in the community. Because most of these people are going to come back to our communities. They're not going to be locked up in a mental health institution. They're not going to be locked up in a jail or prison someplace. So they have to have the services at the community level. And there's a whole nother set of problems with getting them to those services and things like that. So it is an active.
okay.
We're trying to address it all the time. Yeah,
But so far, you're trying to keep on top of it.
we are. Yep.
And
We work real hard to do.
Captain O'Malley, you also have volunteers that come out and work with groups
Yes,
too.
we do have quite a few volunteers. Of course, we have the AANA. We have life skills stuff that we deal with through West ABE. We have a lot of religious volunteers, counselors that come in and work with inmates one-on-one. So yes, we do
I
have
think
quite
that's
a
a
few
real
volunteers.
value
Yep.
too,
Oh, yeah.
and a credit to those people because
Yes,
they
it
are
is.
volunteers and they're donating their time.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
Yes, they do, a lot of time.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
What do we do for those that are addicted? Do we have a program in the jail that we work with them for trying to eliminate their addiction so when they head out, that they at least have some?
We have most of our programming, like the AA and the NA, and then even our counselors, the counselors that come in and work with the guys and gals, they have ties to programs that are on the street, because we don't have, most of our inmates are not in jail for an extended period of time. We do work with Central Minnesota Mental Health and Wright County Court Services. We have a program inside the jail for those people that are going to be there long enough to regular. It's not an inpatient. It's basically the same as a treatment program on the street, but you're in the jail during that period of time rather than being out in the community or whatever. So yeah, we do. But in jail, unlike in prison, the length of stay is so much shorter. So we struggle. That's one of the big things that we struggle with, is just the amount of time that we have with a person to try to work through these problems, because we can't just keep them in custody simply because they're in the middle of a program or something like that. So
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Next up, Mr. Robert Hevel, County Auditor Treasurer. Morning, Bob.
Great.
The first item on the agenda is the city of Rockford is taking one of our tax forfeited parcels. So you have to adopt that resolution allowing that to happen.
Where is that piece of property? Is it beneficial to them, or, oh, I see, for future roadway use or expansion of the city's compost site?
You have an aerial if you.
So it must be close to a current facility then for composting or something.
Oh, yeah.
This is along
That's-
CASA 33, I think it is, on the kind of the north end of Rockford.
Oh,
We actually dealt with this parcel last year. We were
That's what I
looking
thought.
at, XL wanted to put a power line.
Correct.
Bury a power line And at that point, the city said, well, hey, we may want to take this parcel and we'll deal with XL. For whatever reason, they adopted their resolution. The city council adopted a resolution last fall, never got it to us. But they expressed an interest. Their compost site, I think, is on this parcel to the south. They're saying it could be a possible street connection to Wood Hill Drive, I think, to the east. And so they basically get this for just paying fees to the state of Minnesota. There's no cost to the city.
Well, that property really isn't of much value, so that's a perfect place for it, is the Sim City.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Potter.
This is one I brought to Rockford's attention last year, because when you look at on there, it is the next phase of that development from the east there, and that was the next phase, and that was supposedly a dedicated road at one point in time. We're going to be for the next phase of expansion of development. And so it just fell, another one of those outlots that fell through the cracks, and it's good to get it cleaned up.
Yep.
And they finally got this, and Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the City of Rockford's tax forfeit land resolution.
Okay, motion by Potter, second by Commissioner Delida, and this is another resolution. Commissioner Potter, you want to start us
Aye.
off?
Aye.
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 Okay, resolution carries unanimous. Next up,
Board, again, it's my privilege to bring Bruce back here. Yesterday, we solicited bids for the refunding bonds. Bruce is going to walk you through. I think we even impressed him. We didn't impress him, but Wright County's reputation impressed him with activity. So here's Bruce Kimmel walking us through the issuance of the refunding bonds.
morning, Mr. Kimmel.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
I've got a handout for you, and then we have a couple of resolutions as well.
Skinnier than this one, right?
Thank you. Morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, thank you.
Advance. It's two separate.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. You can just tie this one has to do with the negative arbitrage for the 3 months.
I also have a little
Souvenir. This one's wearing out, Bruce.
Thank you.
This one's wearing out on me.
And ask Bob about the significance about the red ink.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Andrew's got something new to play with, right? Okay, we got it.
It has a little bead at the end.
Famous pens.
Okay. And for the public, what we're dealing with right now is the reissuance of bonds for the Law Enforcement Center, to begin with anyway, right?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and tell
Well,
us.
Commissioners, it's really a pleasure to be here with you for a number of reasons. I'm going to cut right to the chase. Yesterday's bond refunding of your existing 2007 bonds, which were originally issued for your jail project, netted the county a true apples-to-apples savings of $7.21 million.
Even better than we thought.
And that was $522,000 better than what we had estimated when we were with you about a month ago. So over $500,000 more. And what that will mean on an annual basis over the next 12 years, which is 2018 through 2029, is almost exactly $600,000 a year of true, again, net savings to the county that will then bring down the cost of your subsequent financings, however that plays out. So I didn't want to bury the lead with lots of other details. I will go through some of those details, and please stop me along the way if you have questions. But this was a tremendously successful bond issue. We received 14 bids on your behalf yesterday. I've never received 14 bids. Usually we're very happy with 6 bids. We're ecstatic with 10 bids. And our bond sale department at Ellers couldn't remember a time that we had received 14 bids, at least not in the recent past. So it was tremendously successful, both with the quality of the bids and the number of bids we received. So the other thing I should note here on the sale day report, and I'm referring to the second page, which gives you some summary statistics, is you'll notice that the bond amount is a lot less than what we had estimated before. If you'll recall, we came to you with an estimate of about $40-some million And now we're at a final par amount of $36,075,000. And the reason for that is the premium bid that the winning bidder, FTN Financial, gave, and I'll explain that more in a moment. But as you refer to the two resolutions in front of you, one awarding the bonds and one approving the escrow agreement for this refunding, you'll note that the par amount is this $36,075,000. So what were the reasons for the additional savings? One was the better interest rate. The winning bid was 17 basis points, or 0.17%, better than what we had projected. So that obviously on a $40 million bond issue has a big difference. In addition, the discount that FTN took was much less than what we had allowed for in that discount allowance. So they didn't take as much of that money on the table, and so that went to your bottom line savings. The cost of issuance were less than projected, and also the escrow, the investment that we're parking these bond proceeds in until December 1 of this year, it's more efficient. We're having a better interest rate, so that allowed us to not have to bond for as much because it will earn more money over the next 6 months. So it was this combination of those four things that led to the $520,000 better results. I'm not going to go through much more on the summary table. I think it's more helpful to look at some of the actual results. So let me have you turn to the bid tabulation. And here on the front page of the bid tab, you can see the winning bid from FTN and the other firms, Morgan Stanley, Raymond James, Ramirez, and Jeffries, that were part of their winning syndicate. And you can see the interest rates, the coupons, as we call them, on the bonds range from 4% and then drop down to 3% for the last 2 years. But the reoffering yield on the bonds, the actual true rate, if you will, on these bonds, starts at 0.9% and goes to 2.6%. So it's really the difference between those that accounts for the premium, right? The winning bidder offered you about $4 million extra cash for the right to receive these high coupon rates, because in their mind, their investors are going to like those high coupons. They think they'll be easier to sell those bonds on the secondary market, even though the true yield on those bonds is much, much less. Okay, so that's just the particular dynamic that we have going on in the market right now. And really, it doesn't make any difference to you because we took all of that extra money and used it to reduce the size of the bond issue. So you're still paying just on what you need to refinance your jail bonds. But it allows us to greatly reduce the size of the bond issue. And then I should also note, Commissioners, that the last 3 years of the bond issue, so the maturities in 27, 28, and 29, will be callable as of the year 2026. And that's over $10 million that's left there. So you'll have the ability, and with those interest rates, of 4 and then 3%, it's very likely that you could, if you saw fit to do so, refund these bonds again, roughly 9 years from now, for additional savings for the last 3 years. Or you could pay them off, or some combination.
Or Bruce, if the interest rates were to rise dramatically, we are still going to be locked in with this.
Right. There's no involuntary reset, Commissioner Borrell. It's all at your discretion.
So the winning bid, then I see the 2.12. That's the how do you call it, the average interest rate, or
exactly the true all-inclusive present value adjusted rate is that 2.12%, and that's the basis for us deciding that they were the winning bid. Because then if you go to the second page, you can see how close the next several bids were, right? The cover bid, as we call it, from Hutch Shockey was at 2.129%. And then you can see Mesero, Citigroup, it just goes on and on. JP Morgan, Janney Montgomery, Baird, Wells Fargo, Piper, UMB, and Stifel, and BOA, Merrill, Fifth Third, and U.S. Bank. Even U.S. Bank in last place, even they, by a basis point, were better than our pre-sale projections. So all 14 of those were going to yield some benefit to you over what we had projected a month ago.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Bonner.
Bruce, these are incredibly tight rates here. I mean, this is...
There was nobody,
fair. I mean,
FTN was out in front, which is great, but there was nobody. Usually you get one bid that's bottom feeding, that's just trying to get lucky, and there was nobody that was way off the mark here, so
Yeah, they're
it
close.
was really outstanding. So then, Commissioners, if I can just show you the debt schedules that follow, and this is what Bob and Tammy and their group will use going forward in setting levies for the remainder of this debt service over the next 12 years. You can see the sources and uses of funds, and this is after all the resizing, and you can see what happens with the premium is it was $4 million of premium based on the original amount, but as you start reducing the bonds, that premium starts to go down too. So it's kind of one of these toggling iterative processes that our computer system does. And so the final amount of premium was that $3.9 million, if you will. You can see how the discount and the COI were less than projected. We deposited a little bit less than previously estimated into the escrow fund. And so that's how all those sources and uses balance out. And then the debt schedule is on the next page. You can see how you'll still make that last payment on your old bonds on 12/1/17, but then you'll have a partial payment this year on the new bonds as well, and then you'll kick over only to making payments on the new bonds. You can see how the debt service plays out there, ranging from about $3.5 up to $3.8 million. And the last page is really where what matters with the refunding, and that's the savings page, comparing new debt service to the old debt service. And again, this is truly apples to apples. So you can see in the far right-hand column, the savings column, the average of $600,000 a year in net savings to the county, and how that adds up to $7.2
Bruce,
million.
what page are you on? Actually, you should have
It's
numbered these
a
pages.
debt service comparison is the page.
Right, debt service
Okay.
comparison, right. And
And-
so,
Yeah, right.
Here, but I'm not. Say what you just said again. Where did I?
This is the savings.
Oh, okay.
sure, so Commissioner Burrell,
That's what we're gonna be paying. This is what we
Got
would
it.
have been.
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
And so you can see exactly how it's $600,000 per year better than what you're currently paying. Also, I should note that if you go down to the percentages down toward the bottom of the page, you can see the first line, it's really a mouthful. It says net present value benefit over present value of refunded debt service. If you see that, it says 13.5%, 13.6%. State law requires minimum savings for a refunding of this type of 3%. So you're at 13.5%.
Just barely made it.
Just,
Yeah, just barely.
barely over. You're just squeaking by. So I thought that was kind of fun to point out to you. Before I go to the rating with S&P, do you have any other questions about the bids that you received or what that means for what you'll pay in debt service going forward?
No, we're saving the taxpayers money in the
lot of
long
money.
run.
Yeah, it really turned out really, really nicely for the county.
So what do you think it's gonna look like towards the end of the year?
Well, Commissioner Delyden, even a month ago, everyone thought, yeah, we might have some turbulence, but in general, rates are going to go up, right? But now, with more upheaval in Europe and with North Korea and possible trade wars going on, I think there's a possible chance that we're going to stay right about where we are. I don't really expect rates to go down significantly. The economy is still pretty strong, and the stock market keeps going up on average, so that should cause bond rates to have to go up in general. But I could see a lot of pressures that would keep those rate increases very minimal for some period of time, because investors are going to want the safety and the quality of muni bonds.
But still, Bruce, sorry. When we're dealing with 2.12 interest rates, I mean,
Yeah.
we can't get a whole lot lower than that. I think we did pretty. I think we did pretty good. I think most homeowners would be really happy with a
Oh, yeah.
2.12.
What did we do at the highway building? What percent did we get on that one?
2.66.
Was it? Yeah.
The bank qualified one was a 2.66.
So it's even better than that.
Yeah, and that was, that went
That
out
was
15
good.
years or 20 years on the?
20 years.
20 years.
10-year would have won one.
So I could see you being in that same ballpark potentially for the courts facility, although that will be non-bank qualified. But you'll still, knock on wood, but I think you'll be in good shape later this year.
So that will be higher then? Because it's,
Should be higher,
because
it'll
it's
be
20 year?
Right, it'll be at what's called a non-bank qualified rate. So It'll still be tax exempt, but it won't be quite as advantageous as what you got on your highway facility.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. An article, Wall Street Journal and a few other ones, in the recent past, we're talking about investors are flocking to these municipal bonds, the safe haven with all the turmoil. This is where they want to put their money. I mean, lots of people, institutions, what have you, are parking their money here. So it's a great time. They said if you're going to go in debt, if you're going to have bonds, this is a good time to do it because this is where the people want to be. And as by you looking at it, it's true because you had a lot of people bidding on it. That tells you. So that article that was it was almost about a month ago. It holds true with what was going on in the market.
And a lot of the run-up in rates that we did see last fall and early winter were predicated on this idea that we were going to start seeing inflation again. And that was going to be spurred by, trillions of dollars of infrastructure spending, and I think that's been called somewhat into question. So who knows, the world is an interesting place right now, but you're certainly able to take advantage of that uncertainty right now. So then, Commissioners, one last thing I want to cover with you before we get to the resolutions, the credit rating report. And I don't know if you already received this. It did come out last week, but I wanted to include it in the packet because it was such good news. Your staff did an excellent job. Well, your colleagues, Bob Hevla and Tammy in the Auditor Treasurer's Office did an awesome job of preparing for the discussion with S&P. We had that discussion a couple of weeks ago with their analyst, one of their senior analysts out of Chicago. And it was about as easy of a process as possible to get the affirmation of your AA+ rating with a stable outlook. So the AA+, I'll remind you, is just one notch lower than the best possible rating of AAA. And at this point, you're doing everything you possibly can with your own fiscal governance to have as good of a rating as you can. Really, the only thing that's holding you back from a AAA are things like tax base, demographics, wealth levels of the county overall. And as an exurban county, that's going to continue to improve over time as you continue to grow, but there's not a whole lot you can do or need to do on that front as long as you stick to the knitting of good governance, budgeting correctly, keeping fund balances, and having good policies and procedures in place. And as you can see, S&P called out all of those things, saying that you've got very strong management, strong budgetary performance, very strong budget flexibility, very strong liquidity, and strong debt and contingent liabilities. And I will point out that we discussed at some length the very strong likelihood that you would be bonding for the courts facility later this year. Price range somewhere between 40 and 50 million to be determined. Bob and Tammy were very candid about that. And the S&P analysts called that out in the debt section, which is on page 4 of the report, and said that they didn't really, well, I can say, we understand that the county will likely issue $40 to $50 million in GO improvement bonds in the latter part of 2017 to fund part of its CIP, though otherwise has no debt plans within the next 2 years. The issuance of this volume of debt could weaken the county's debt profile, though we note that given its currently low debt levels, the additional debt would not likely have a credit impact. So that's great. We telegraphed to them. They said it's not a problem. Incidentally, debt is actually a very small part of your credit profile. Things like fund balance, budget management, financial practices are much more of your debt profile, what matters to S&P than your total amount of debt. So obviously you care about it because of the tax impacts, but S&P, it only factors in a little bit into their outlook on the county.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
As long as you're on page 4 there, that last line on that, in the paragraph under strong debt and contingent liability profile, negatively affecting our view of the county's debt profile are its significant medium-term debt plans. What are they referring to with that?
Oh, I think they're alluding to the fact that you're doing $40 to $50 million of debt. So the debt component of your rating, which is only 10% of your rating, could get tweaked down just a little bit. But they're saying overall, given how strong the rest of your rating is, it's not going to make a difference to your rating. But they're saying, yeah, if you add $50 million of debt, we might bring down your debt score a little bit. And that's that negative phrase that you mentioned.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious.
where that was situated in there. Okay.
And then lastly, coming back to the point I made initially on Outlook on page 5, you can see downside and upside scenarios, and again, they really don't think there's a lot of downside for your rating, and upside would be, again, if you continue to improve on your economic characteristics with stronger wealth and income ratios, more consistent with the Hennepins, the Ramsey counties of the metro area. So really great results, and again, kudos to your team, your finance team, on the work that they did to prepare for it. It went very, very smoothly.
Commissioner Potter.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Bruce, just for the general public out there that's listening, the AA+ rating is as good as a county our size with our structure is going to get. AAA is not there until we get much bigger and economic. As far as fiscal policy and financial, AA+ is the top for our county.
It really is. With one caveat, and this is just full disclosure, if you saw fit to increase your fund balances to 75% of expenditures, how does that sound, Bob? That would be an automatic upgrade, but as your financial advisor, I can't justify that. That would mean holding on to so much cash, well above what you can really justify for a rainy day for a county of this size. It's not worth it. And frankly, it wouldn't make that big of an interest difference for you from AAA to AA+. So, although it would allow you to, give yourself pats on the back, I don't think it would be the prudent financial thing to do.
I don't think our taxpayers would be patting ourselves on the back.
For really small counties, I can think of Rock County, for instance. They don't have a AAA, but they got their AA+ because they have like 80% fund balance. But Rock County is really tiny, right? And it probably could be justified to have 80% fund balance there.
Yes, they need it.
So it's an apples to orange situation. So I would never recommend that you do that, but that would be one shortcut way you could potentially get to a AAA.
Yeah.
But that would violate our fund balance policy.
It would.
Right. Yeah.
Is Hennepin County AAA?
Hennepin is, but the state is not. As you probably recall, the state is a AA+. So.
Right, thank you. And then we have a resolution.
So yes, I know that was long, but I wanted to share the good news, and
yes,
it really reflects the strong budgeting that you all do.
That's okay. That was such good news. You could talk about
it
a little
forever and
longer
ever,
if you
right? So then, do you want to take the resolutions, or shall I?
You go ahead.
Okay. So the first resolution then does have the blanks filled in. I know you saw the form of it, but it's the resolution awarding the sale of the bonds. Lots of wording there to FTN Financial, and your bond counsel at Kennedy and Graven did fill in the blanks. So I think it's ready to go for your consideration here today.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move forward with a resolution issuance of a refunding bond.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter.
Second.
Second by Commissioner DeLeyden. Roll call vote. Commissioner Hewson.
Aye.
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 Motion carries resolution carries unanimous. Next up, Bruce.
Right, then the other item is just the, I want to make sure I get this wording right. It is in your agenda, I know. It's to approve, so there's no resolution here, but it's to approve the refunding escrow agreement with Wells Fargo, or excuse me, U.S. Bank. I misspoke. And this really just speaks to the investment, essentially, that you'll be making with them for the next 6 months until you call out the old jail bonds on December 1 of 2017. So again, it just lays out lots of statistics and parameters for this refunding escrow.
Mr. Chair, I'll make.
So you don't see the money, it goes straight to U.S. Bank. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move forward with this fund balance transfer to Wells Fargo.
No.
Or not fund transfer, but holding.
U.S.
agreement.
Bank.
U.S. Bank, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I said Wells
From
Fargo, I got it
yeah.
in your head.
You got me in my head.
Yep.
I'm reading it and saying one thing.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Betts, second by Commissioner DeLeyden to enter into the contract with U.S. Bank. Any further discussion?
Just roll call.
It is roll call?
Roll call, it's a
I think
resolution.
it was.
I don't think so.
Escrow agreement?
Bruce, is this a resolution or just a roll call vote?
Okay, just simple.
Oh, he's- okay.
Okay, so further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. And Bruce, I know I held off, redoing this about a year ago, and I was like, oh man, was that the right decision? But you know, and we did, rather than waiting to the end of the year, we're coming up with 2.12. I'm going to tell you, I am very, very happy that we did it, and I call it a penalty. It's negative arbitrage, but at this point, that amount of the penalty or negative arbitrage was so small that, what was it though? Because we're getting a better interest rate on the amount of money that we're putting in.
Right. I didn't give you this number because there are so many pages. It would just give you a lot of brain damage. But Commissioner Burrell and commissioners, so altogether, the negative arbitrage on the investment account was less than $200,000.
So it's saving $600,000 a year. It was oh yeah.
For the peace of mind, and especially as you plan for your next project.
And if we would have done this a year ago, it would have been like $1 million too, was it, or more than
2 years ago.
How much, Mike?
It was almost 2 years ago. It was a 1.1.
1.1. Yeah.
So, you know, overall savings were a little bit more, but the negative arbitrage was a lot more. So this worked out, I think, very well.
But I think we ended up with interest rates probably as good or better than a year ago. They were good a year ago, or 2 years ago, whenever it was, too.
I think on a lot of fronts, this really worked out well for the county.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I was just gonna say, even on the call date after 2026, the last 3 years, the interest on it, I mean, we're under about 340,000 in interest just in the last 3 years, which is incredibly low. I mean, because at the call date, you wouldn't even hardly want to pay it off because the savings is so minute.
Unless,
We'll see what happens here.
if interest rates are comparable then to what they are now, you could, if you're looking at 0.9, 1% interest rates then,
Short term.
Another opportunity to flip it again if you see fit to do that.
Because they're short term then.
Yeah.
People are.
Yeah,
right.
Instead of long term.
Yeah.
But you also have the option to pay off some of that debt if
Mm-hmm.
you, Bob's investment rates are only so, then you might still say it makes sense to pay off some of it, so. Well, thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Did a
thank you
great
for your
job.
hard work.
Thank you for all the work you did for the county.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. Board, again, I'd like to thank Ellers, again, as the financial advisors, they're with us this whole process. So they do a great job. Board, I had sent an email out earlier, just letting you know in advance of that rating call, that there are certain things that we needed to have put into place, and one was this continuing disclosure. Now, the county has issued bonds. There's people who are out there actively buying pieces of that bond, and they want to have assurance that we are a going concern. So there's a responsibility that we prepare a continuing disclosure on an annual basis. We usually have a financial advisor prepare this for us. Springstead has done this for us. I did take the liberty to actually move this responsibility over to Ellers, and that's what I had signed. I gave that out to you. But so today is just having you approve, maybe in retro, the fact that we are having Ellers provide our continuing disclosure. There's another one that's going to come very soon that's called arbitrage calculation. I did take the liberty that we did want to have one central location for our financial advisors. So I took it that Ellers would be our financial advisor.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the continuing contract with Ellers.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hewsome.
Mr. Chair, if I can just add one word,
Sure.
continuing disclosure contract.
Continuing disclosure contract.
Right.
Okay.
You okay with that too, Chris?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Just great job again. Keep it up. We'll keep you
Yep.
on board.
Board, one segue away from this. When I go over the budget reports with you, I always talk about investment income that I have to write off premiums. When I'm buying pieces of bonds out there, I will pay a premium, but I'm always investing at the net interest rate. So I'm getting 4% on a coupon, but I have to write off some of that premium. People buying our Wright County bonds are going to be doing the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
They're going to be buying a 4% coupon, but they're only going to net 212. So,
Because they're discounting it off the bat.
and then GASB requires that we write those off on coupon dates until maturity or call date. So, as I tell you that I have to write this off, lower our investment income looks like it's good, then I lower it.
It's because we're recognizing the return of that premium.
It just makes you feel better seeing that 4%.
Well, that's the psychological impact of this.
That's what we talked about that here, so yeah.
And the last thing I'm going to add to it is, we don't know what's going to happen in those last 3 years of this bond. With our ability to call these, that could be a strategic issue, a new bond, and call these off at the same time. So that's just a chip in our pocket, so.
Okay. All in favor of the motion to approve the continuing disclosure contract with Ellers, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Congratulations again. Next up, Bob.
Yeah, approve the March budget reports. I do hope that you each got a copy of that budget report. I will bring out that March was a 3 pay period month, so on the expenditure side, it does look like we're closer to budget than savings, but also in Department 100, we're continuing to hold in that the allocations due to settlements. So we're looking that in May, we're gonna make that big allocation. So March, some of our department budgets are a little bit lower, like on salaries. After the allocation comes through, those budgets go up, and then they'll come in under budget. So we're still holding off, settling out the personnel 01-100, 6100. That's happening in there. Also in March, we did move vitals up to the recorder's office. So April, didn't happen in March. I'll be showing some revenue in the recorder's office for vitals, and I'll be lowering the budget in the auditor's office and giving her some budgeted target to meet. So, other than that, I continue to work with OpenGov. We're doing some pretty cool stuff. It's called dashboarding. I am the pilot for that, which is kind of cool. It is warts and all. I mean, I'm running into all sorts of bumps, but in the end, I'm hoping that the product will be that I could have a dashboard in front of you that will give you highlights of the budget and non-financial data. So we're continuing to work with OpenGov on that. Commissioner Potter, you walked into my office when I was looking at the February and then the March, and he said, there's Pac-Man. So you'll see that our expenses are almost eating up our revenues. And that's why we always have a fund balance at the end of the year. We have to carry ourselves until we get tax dollars. So yeah, I shared with them your Pac-Man comment. Or that's in a nutshell the March budget report.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion
I'll
for
make that motion, approve March revenue expenditure report.
Motion by Commissioner Delighten.
Second that.
Okay.
Second by, we'll give that to Commissioner Hewsome. See, it pays to sit close to me, Chris.
You can hear me.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you again, Bob. And
Thank you.
yeah, I'm going to leave here very happy today. So, items for consideration. We have owners committee meetings, and this is the minutes regarding the new courts facility building. And there are 6 meetings, and I don't think that it's going to pay to go through them. They will be available. They're online, and they'll also be in our minutes, right, Lee, for anybody to read through.
Well, so we've had these meetings every about 2 weeks with the board involved, as well as a team of folks representing the departments that are going to be out in this facility. We've relied on BKV Group, who's the architect, has been providing these minutes. So they are in the full minutes, full information is all here listed through the agenda. It's out on the web as well. So I don't know that we do particularly need to read through them here. Due to the formatting, it may be difficult / impossible to get them into the minutes format as it was. So I would
But
refer
they are
folks.
available online.
Yes, they are.
And just by this discussion, they will reference that they are available online.
Correct. And if someone, has difficulty finding them, feel free to reach out to me and I'll forward whatever.
Okay.
So they're in the agenda, right?
Are there any,
Correct.
right, yeah. Are there any highlights that, would be prudent to share with, or that difficult to
But
pull out?
I think it is difficult. It just shows the process,
Yeah.
from the beginning kind of to, some of these will be the discussion bringing on the, construction manager and the different, building concepts, because it has evolved. And what I think will happen if we get into the minutes too much, Lee mentioned this to me earlier too, but we'll have things that were changed later and then references something
Yeah,
from
okay.
before, and it was, I think it's best if somebody was really interested to just go through the minutes. Mike or I would certainly be available for any questions. Mike's probably more up, but he's made a couple more meetings, and certainly Lee would help anybody get to the
Okay.
website, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think if we read through them, it could leave people very misleading because they would only get snapshots that were probably very contradicting as it goes back and forth through discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Potter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in reference to these committee minutes and everything else, anytime it got to a point where it needed the full board, like we did earlier, we brought it before the full board so you got an update on what's going on here. Because every time you take this process and you go through certain steps, there's certain parts you want to stop, let everybody know where you're at to that date, and have your, reaffirm what everybody believed and then go forward. And we're gonna have another such meeting pretty quick here.
Yeah, but things like, and Commissioner Hughesman was saying, one of the concepts though had like a tunnel, or like, not a tunnel, a vertical space that was not a building at one time, and we went through a lot of conceptual things like that, and if somebody's really interested in that minutia, or they're interested in the final plan of what we came up with, they'll be left to their own research to come up with that, so.
I see that you eliminated the open air light well on the.
Yeah, that was.
Which, I'm sure that was a considerable sum.
Over $1 million,
Yeah,
something
so
like that, so.
you guys are being very prudent to make sure that we're
Okay.
not having the Taj Mahal.
So again, knowing that these minutes are available online and they're also in the agenda, they would be on the agenda online as well, right?
Right,
Yes.
I'm looking at the
Okay.
packet right now as part
Okay.
of the meeting, that's what I use.
I will entertain a motion to approve
Mr. Chair, I'll
the
make that
minutes.
motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Potter,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Lyden to approve those minutes, and they are available to the public. Okay? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Schedule an owners committee of the whole on review of the schematic design for the court's facility.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're getting to the point where BKV is kind of bringing everything together as far as schematic design. And as part of the schedule, we've decided to have another meeting with the board to give an update of where that is at. The planned date for that was May 2nd. And just on another topic too, on that day, May 2nd in the afternoon, I know the judges' bench meeting is, and they had also requested that the commissioners attend that meeting to talk through any potential changes that may be needed to the design or addressed moving forward, so.
Okay? And
Mr.
and
Chair,
that
Lee,
was-
what time is that meeting?
what's that,
The
11?
bench meeting is at 1:30 in the afternoon.
We were going to meet at 11 o'clock, though?
Correct, I had planned this meeting with BKV.
Actually, this might have been, did we schedule this already, or?
I don't believe that we had. It's been on
You
this.
might have just called me because I wrote it on my.
Yeah, I was trying to confirm availability.
wasn't-
This has been on the draft schedule for
Okay.
a while.
So
many
I will
months.
entertain a motion then to set a owners committee for the courts of the whole on May 2nd at 11 o'clock.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Hughesman. Anyone have a problem with that date? I should have asked that first, I suppose.
Yep.
You're okay? All right, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chair, I wanted, just so I got it on my calendar, that bench meeting, Lee, was at 1:30 that same day?
That's a 1:30. They start their meeting. We could move that back if need be, but
And that's over in their conference room over there?
correct. yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Lee, do we need a motion to approve attendance at
I
that?
would prefer
I would
that,
think so. I'll
yes.
make a motion to approve committee of the whole with the bench meeting.
I'll second that.
And that's at 1:30, you said, right?
Okay. Wouldn't that just go with scheduling the meeting for committee of the whole? or-
Two separate
Different
things.
times.
Okay. All right. Oh, for the court one. I got it. Okay. All right. Motion by Commissioner Delighten to authorize attendance for the court meeting,
Bench meeting.
or bench meeting.
I seconded that.
Second by Commissioner Hughesman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. So. that down. Okay, and then next up is scheduled committee of the whole meeting for reorganization process, and this is something that was started with Sunny and Lee that are bringing this forward to the board, so we'll need to come up with a date to meet. Lee, do you have a suggested time for that?
We were kind of targeting that same May 2nd day, which might be a busy day, but kind of where things are at, I think it'd be good to touch base. This doesn't have to be a terribly long meeting. We were proposing 1 in the afternoon, and
It would have to be after the bench meeting then,
No,
right?
before the bench.
I think we could do it before the bench meeting. And when I talked with the judge yesterday, their meeting starts at 1:30, but they have an agenda of many other items.
And how late do you think the committee of the whole meeting will go at 11? It goes till an hour?
Probably an hour, 45 to an hour.
Okay, so then we'll have this at 1
1
o'clock?
o'clock would be my preference.
1 o'clock?
Wow.
It's gonna be tight, huh?
You're gonna keep us busy.
Okay, but it's more of a kickoff meeting, kind of a,
Yeah,
I mean,
we wanted to touch.
I'm doubting it will be the final meeting for it.
No,
to work
we
that
just want to
policy
keep
out.
the ball moving, and then there's some decisions that we need the board to make too, so
Okay.
I'd like to bring that to you in kind of an expedient manner.
Okay.
Chair, I'll make a motion to set the reorg process committee of the whole for 1 PM on May 2nd.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Hewsom, second by Commissioner Delighten, to set a committee of the whole for the reorganization process at 1 o'clock on May 2nd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, and next up, we have our property out by the courts facility and law enforcement center that's up on the agenda. Lee, do you want to talk to that for a second?
Yes, I was contacted by the property owners. We've had several discussions, as you know, regarding this property close to where our new courts facility will be. They had submitted another offer back to us, and I don't know if the board would like to meet again and to discuss that.
I think, board, probably the best thing that we could do here is just set up a closed session. We don't want to have this.
Yeah.
So do you have a?
Is anybody going to be here on the 1st at all because of Law Day and stuff?
I
I have a doctor's appointment.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm
then
Can we
planning.
do it 8 o'clock on the 2nd then?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We might as well make
8:30
the
on the
second
second.
really a full
Right.
day.
Really a full day.
Well, I don't
Call it
think it's going to
Tuesday.
take long. Why don't we say 8:30 then on
Okay.
May 2nd? Oh my gosh.
We may end up ordering pizza and eating pizza in the conference room at the rate we're going.
Breakfast and lunch.
How about 8:15?
8:30. It's not going to take long,
Just get here early.
Yeah.
so.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a closed meeting, discuss PID 103-500-172203 for May 2nd at 8:30 in the morning.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delighten. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Advisory Committee Board updates. Whoever would want to start. Mike,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair, I'll let you do that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Historical Society met last week. You know, and I'm just an advisor on that. I don't get to participate in too much of anything, but it's interesting. We now have a World War I display, the 100th anniversary of that out there. And I kind of walked through it a little bit, and I'll be walking through it again. I've handed out a lot of flyers to different libraries and Legion clubs, and I encourage people to go take a look at that. It's got a lot of Wright County flair to it. A lot of people that had ancestors in World War I have things on display, which is kind of neat. And there's been a lot of American History, the History Channel, a bunch of channels are having a lot of documentaries in that of World War I right now, and it's at the forefront of everything, and it's kind of neat what's going on out there. Plus, they're doing a reorganization of their library area to make it better, flow better than what it is. I mean, they got a grant from, it wasn't the initiative, it was like the Ellingson or something, it'll pay for that within there, so it'll be down for a few weeks while they change out the doors, and they've had the fire marshal there make sure everything is legit and correct. So that was on that one. Wright County Economic Development Partnership, we had discussed about greater MSP and participation in that. Greater MSP did have a hand in getting us Wagner Spray Tech in Otsego. So for those that are asking, what have they done for us? Well, they did have a hand in that, so that's going to bring in quite a bit more money than we pay to the Economic Development Partnership for them on an annual basis. And there's a couple others in the pipeline, just a matter of having to come to fruition. Next thing is on the AMC board meeting in St. Paul Friday. Some of the things that talk about the conference committees going on. And like I'd mentioned earlier in the meeting, mental health was the number one. We had a little breakout session of what the top priorities for us going forward are. And mental health definitely topped the list. Some of them like county program aid. It depends on which part of the state they're from, depending on what they liked. Invasive species and different things going on. And they're basically, those meetings are about 3 to 3.5 hours long, so there's a lot of information there. And it's nice to attend to see what they're up to, but you get basically a summary comes forward from AMC, and Julie Ring is supposed to bring that out to all of us. And if they give me a summary of it and I don't see you copied on it, I will forward it to all of you. So you can kind of, follow along. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Potter.
All right. Well, Commissioner Potter can help me on Highway 55, but just a couple of things before that. I attended the Wright Hennepin dinner their membership dinner on Thursday night. They served like 2,400 people, so it's huge. It's just amazing that they can, and you were there. I didn't see you, but I heard that you were there.
I saw Andrew.
Oh, did you see Andrew? Okay. But anyway, so that's always a nice event. And the Crisis Nursery had their annual fundraiser on Friday night. Commissioner Vetch was there. And they, for the first time, sold out. They sold all their tickets, and they bring in, many thousands of dollars, and it really helps their efforts, which they provide a very important service to our county. Highway 55 Coalition, their County 116, 115 project that would be in Hennepin County is starting, and also the projects though in Wright County, they'll be resurfacing Rockford to Buffalo, then Buffalo to Annandale, and then west. The County Road 14 new lane,
Turn lane.
yeah, the turn lane has been working out really well. I mean, just by all accounts, it's been a real safety improvement. The worst part is the railroad tracks being there and the trains coming through. And this doesn't directly affect us unless you're going to Minneapolis to St. Paul, but the Lowry Tunnel, they're going to be closing that for 3 months starting May 24th. So the one lane, they'll be doing one side at a time. So that's going to be a kind of
A nightmare.
That would be a nightmare.
That's going to be a big nightmare.
When does that happen, the 24th?
Yeah, starts in May already.
Just before Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, so, and I don't know about the we'd had some discussion about, the future of the Highway 55 Coalition, and Hennepin County has different priorities than we have, so we've got the finances to keep going. We're gonna reduce our meetings to 2 years, or 2 a year instead of 3 a year at this point, unless something really comes up. But so that's just kind of in the beginning talks right now about what the future is for the Highway 55 Coalition. So
Kind of to piggyback off that, what Commissioner Houston was saying, is that July 1st is when the authorization with the state money and SRF runs out, but there's enough money left in there for us to continue to go for 3 years, and that should give us enough time to see if we can leverage any more money. So it was agreed that we're going to just go forward for that 3 years and spend that money down, and at 2020 then we review whether it's still there. And what she said with Hennepin County's priority, because they have a problem on 252, which is what West River Road is their biggest priority right now, and their major priority on 55 was that 116-55 in Medina, and now that's being solved, and that will be much better. If anybody's driven that was a nightmare, and one lane left offset from the track going across the way. Again, the railroad's tight there. There's a problem for them. We do have support from Hennepin County and all the powers over there for expanding from Arrowhead to Loretto, that 4 lane, to help fit in with the bus rapid transit that's coming in the future there. So that'll be a future benefit for Wright County residents that use 55 to get down to downtown or thereabouts.
It's a very expensive project, like, so
She's kept it
I think they're estimating what, close to 80 million for that.
all the way
so-
to the border.
Yeah, so we'll see what.
All the way to the
All
border.
the way to our border, but
To our
that,
border,
right,
yeah.
the here and now is just go to
Loretto,
Go to-
County Road 19.
get County Road 19, correct.
Yeah, that would be cheaper.
There was the,
Medina, 28.6 million, Corcoran, 8.3 million. So I think that's,
yeah, it
yeah,
was,
the total anyway was 80. So they have it broken down by
anybody
little
wants to see
sections.
that chart, I'll have it available for you.
Yep, so. And then I went to the Starry Stonewort Summit on Saturday. It was really actually encouraging because Dr. Rogers from Clemson University, they're so knowledgeable. They do so much testing and that kind of thing. The DNR had used an herbicide for starry stonewort. Well, starry stonewort is an alga, not a plant. So it was not effective, and Dr. Rogers and his team has developed an algicide which was very effective when they put it in Lake Cronus in Paynesville. And between doing the harvesting of these plants and the algicide, it was like 98% effective.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it was very, very highly effective. So I was encouraged by what I heard. There is still, continual monitoring. The problem is that in 2015, Coronas was the only lake in the state, and now there's 7 of them. But they're still, they removed what, 250,000 pounds or something of this
Well, at one time,
from Coronas. It's just incredibly invasive. So, but there's some encouraging news anyway, and we'll see going forward how it helps. But anyway, so
Good.
that was good.
And I have nothing.
We should mention Law Day.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Okay, brought that so I'd remember.
Next week is, May 1st is Law Day. So anybody that has,
Website.
yeah, they can go to the website to actually, it also
the
tells them
schedule.
and the different things that are available to them. And also the press had done a really good job of explaining
Nice job.
some of the things that will be there. So if you have warrants out for your arrest, you can come and get those dealt with on that day, and not have to worry as much. And then also next week on Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, we have a public hearing regarding
Thank you for
the
mentioning that.
possible sales tax for highways, or roadways. Since the state doesn't seem to be stepping up to the plate to solve some of those issues. And also next week, Monday through Thursday, Derek and I will be dealing with Infotech regarding the IT restructuring, looking at the best way to deal with IT in the future to move things forward a little faster and how we're going to do that. If we need to hire some more people or put them in different locations or do some contracting out with other companies. Just a note that the list of accumulating all the different software applications that we're using now, and we still are not complete yet, but there was 4 software applications that we were supporting that nobody was using anymore, and there was 5 software applications that nobody realized was out there that were being utilized, so that got on the list too. So we got rid of 4 and found 1 more extra. So it's, again, the whole idea behind all this information gathering is to eliminate duplications in the software applications that we're using. Currently, there's 4 or 5 drawing programs out there. So we know there's a lot of duplications out there, and it's to try to eliminate this and make it much more efficient.
Absolutely.
That's all I got.
Okay, Jerry?
Oh, no, one other thing. I didn't make it to the pork chop dinner because I was serving seniors, and you guys dealt with a couple thousand. I dealt with 400 seniors,
Wow.
citizens, serving them a chicken and all the trimmings dinner.
Good.
What a nice young man you turned
Yes,
out.
and I had planning and zoning. so.
Okay.
Well, first off, I was going to go back to Friday to the crisis nursery. I really, we have to say a big thank you to Sandy Griniger for a great
Oh, yeah.
keynote speech, very moving.
Oh, very much
And for all of her efforts in contributing to the crisis nursery and a lot of the other volunteers for that event, first off. But otherwise, on Thursday, April 20th, I attended the Monticello Safe Schools. Just a quick note that came out of that meeting is that they've had a kind of a sharp little increase in mental health needs for students in the school. What the anomaly is, don't know, but it just over the last month and a half, they've seen a little bit of an peak for mental health needs. So,
Well, regarding that, what did they say last week? There was 2 suicides in
Yeah,
Wright County
2 young
last week.
people.
Younger-
One was an overdose and one was a suicide.
Yeah.
Yes,
yep.
yes, that's what it was,
And,
overdose.
and that's part of their mental health increase that they've seen is kind of some of the stuff possibly, who knows, surrounding some of that.
Yeah, I know that St. Michael's having the same concerns, and I know even down at the Capitol, they were looking at that as a possible fundings, trying to help fund that sort of stuff. But again, they can't seem to come together or anything, so who knows what's gonna happen. We have to rely on ourselves
Yep.
because we can't rely on
Because
them.
there's just not a lot of money out there for people to get mental health services at a fair price.
And there's such a shortage of it.
There
too.
is a short, exactly. Well, that brings me to my next, the Healthcare Summit that I attended on Friday, April 21st in St. Cloud. This event focused on what businesses and schools are and can do to attract students to healthcare-related fields of employment. It was discussed how numbers of facilities are offering training at the place of employment and how they can become licensed as a CNA along with partnering with colleges that can also offer TMA licensing in the workplace. They also talked about how high schools have now begun initiatives that are being offered to students that allow them to get a CNA license, a college and high school and college credits all at the same time in the same classes. But these are all good steps in the right direction, and hopefully they can expand it into much other areas of healthcare and just other fields as well, so people can come out licensed, college educated sooner than later, because we need to get more people into the workforce with a better level of education with less cost, and this is a way to do it.
Did you take your kids with to show them what their possibilities they could do for the future? Is
You know, that would have been a good idea for my older 2. You know, my other 3, I think they'd probably kick me out of here. But also then on yesterday, I attended the Central Minnesota Mental Health Finance Committee. Central Minnesota Mental Health conducted its financial audit using accounting firm Schlenner Wenner for its 2016 financials. The audit came back with good marks, stating that no immediate changes are needed in reporting or financial structure. However, the accounting firm let the board know that future accounting requirements may change, which will put U.S. businesses and nonprofits in a similar reporting style to international organizations. I guess this is just a trend that they're seeing out there. Maybe Bob would know more about it than I would as to a reporting style that the way they show their accrual rating is going to be different of revenues than way it's traditionally done. I'm not quite sure anything about that. I don't have an accounting.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be adopting, GASB or not.
Yeah, and that's where they said that right now it's really up in the air, but there'll be some sort of a change that's going to come out of this, and that's just something that we had to kind of keep on the radar from a financial standpoint as to how we will be making changes to accommodate that. Also discussed was the lack of 60-day cash reserves, which has kind of been an ongoing discussion, but it's kind of a slow trickle effect that, currently they're running right around 40 days of the 60 days, which 60 days is kind of the minimum for operating cash that you really want to have on hand, but right now we're operating closer more to the 40 days of worth of operating funds. This is just kind of thing that I wanted to make sure that we had some discussions on. We'll have future discussions on it as we kind of make the discussions as to what our role will be involved with them down the road. And that funding source or the cash operating funds is low is kind of a sticking point for me, whether we are or aren't and how we are involved. So I wanted to take part in that. Other than that, I have nothing else. Okay.
All right. Is there any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 10:16.